Hey guys, this is Jessica and Noam with Reverb over at GRETSCH Studios, and today we are talking about something very important.
The Phil Collins drum sound.
For In the Air Tonight, we needed a large drum kit, so we got this GRETSCH square badge drum set, and we added a lot of toms. We have a 10-inch tom, a 12, a 13, and then two 16-inch floor toms. All of them have had the resonant head removed. And then we have a LUDWIG SUPRAPHONIC snare, and that actually has a 40-strand snare wire and a lot of dampening on the head.
So the sound of In the Air Tonight is the sound of gated room mics. This was done as an accident when they were making the song Intruder and had a talkback mic which was heavily compressed so that you could hear what people were saying, and gated so that it wasn't blasting the entire time. And when Phil Collins started playing the drums, it sounded like nothing they had ever heard, and that eventually turned into the sound for In the Air Tonight. The sound of In the Air Tonight was 5 microphones. It was a pair of room mics, which were Neumann U87s. It was a snare microphone, which was a SHURE SM57. It was a kick microphone, which was a Neumann U47. And it was a STC ball and biscuit microphone, which was an omnidirectional dynamic microphone. They used it for talkback mostly. Instead of using that today, we use a pair of SM57s facing each other. You may be really familiar with this sound. It sounds like 80s drum sounds. It is in fact not reverb on this track. It is just the natural sound of the room running through noise gates. Later on, after this record came out, people started creating a lot of reverbs that would try to emulate this sound, but this was the original version of that. The way that they were processing all of that stuff was heavy compression. The room microphones got a pair of 1176s on them. They're set to 4:1, and they were just really smashing them up. So the talkback mic was plugged into the listen mic circuit of the SSL 4000 board. That is a heavy amount of compression that automatically gets applied to that circuit. You have no controls over it. It's just heavily compressed, and they took that and ran it through a gate to create the sound. So gating became popular in the 80s, and it was essentially used just to manage the different microphones that you had going on in your drum sound. So you would have your overheads, which had no gates on them, they were wide open, and then you had a close snare mic, and you would stick a gate on it so that you could do things like put on reverb without putting reverb on the hi-hat, and you would put it on the kick drum so that you could compress the kick drum really heavily and not bring out the tom mics. And then it was heavily abused by pretty much everyone in the 80s eventually. Kind of starting with Phil Collins, who put gates on every microphone on this drum sound. So there's a gate on the kick drum, there's a gate on the snare, and there is a gate on each of the room mics and on the talkback microphone. All the gates are set to a very specific time that works with the rhythm of the song. And all of the gates are making the sound not only manageable, like not only controlling some of the bombastic nature of the heavy compression, but also creating its own rhythmic feel and its own sound. The mixing on this stuff was pretty basic. We added a little bit of compression in parallel so that the entire kit got compressed together, and it kind of made it a little bit more cohesive, and added a tiny bit of EQ, a little bit of high end on the snare and overheads, but other than that, it's pretty much just what the sound is.
there you have it, you guys. That's how we recreated the Phil Collins drum sound. Let us know in the comments what other iconic drum sounds you'd like to hear, and we'll consider it.